Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And first order of business is to acknowledge that the TRHD connects with many First Nation communities across our vast regional district. And today we are located on the Tecumseh-Secwepemc territory, situated with the unceded ancestral lands of the Secwepemc Nation. The TRHD appreciates the partnership that we have with the Tecumseh-Secwepemc and respect the territory and land on which we gather today. Before we get an approval of the agenda, I would like to make an amendment, and that is to delete number 5.2 of BC Cancer, as they are going to be presenting as 6.1. If I can have a seconder for removal of 5.2. Second by Director Jay Smith, and all in favor? Contrary minded? Thank you. All right, and I will get an approval of the agenda as amended. Got a mover? Moved by Director Middleton, second by Councillor Karpak. All in favor? Contrary minded? Thank you. And we have a set of minutes. Moved by Director R. Smith, second by Director Karpak. All in favor? Contrary minded? Thank you. So we'll go right into 5.1 being delegations. And we have Foundry Kamloops Association, and we have Services Campaign Communications Director Sadie Hunter and Kamloops Foundry Manager Lisa Johansson. Oh, and sorry, I have Director Getz.
I do believe we have to have verbal response from the people online on the vote.
Thank you, Director Getz. I will go to Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
That is actually not included in the hospital board procedure bylaw. So we don't require verbal confirmation from members participating via Zoom. It is helpful though, and it would be appreciated if they would like to do that, but thank you.
Thank you. And that's actually great to acknowledge that we do have Director Demare and Director Birch Jones online with us today as well. Thank you. All right. And we will pass it over to our delegation.
Thank you so much. I think we're having some slides put up. Perfect. Maybe while that's happening, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Lisa Johansson. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Foundry Kamloops manager. I'm joined here today, of course, by Sadie Hunter, our capital campaign director, to tell everyone here a little bit more about Foundry Kamloops. And maybe just to kind of shake off the 1 o'clocks that I'm at least feeling, can I just get a show of hands? Who's heard of Foundry Kamloops? Maybe seen a present? I see 2 hands. Okay, perfect. We are trying to get the word out here about what Foundry Kamloops is, of course, and then it's coming to our community, but it's coming to our region. And that's really the message we want to put here in front of you all is this is a regional resource. This is a regional priority. You can see our kind of agenda up there. We're going to talk about what interior community services and Foundry Kamloops and how those are connected. We'll talk about Foundry BC because Foundry is a provincial initiative, the mission, the model, the services that are coming, and then some updates around Foundry Kamloops and where we are with that development. I have the slide clicker, don't I? Hold on. This guy? Okay, thank you. Oh. Go again. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I might be able to wing it, but it's nice when there's pictures. Can you scroll down? Can you scroll down on it? It was a PDF, I believe. And there's always no pressure, right? When you're trying to do this in front of an audience. You have any laptop?
Corporate Officer Jeremiah.
For those attending online, we're just having some technical difficulty and we'll be up and running very shortly.
Success.
Thank you. Okay, try again. Okay, perfect.
Please continue.
Continue. Okay. Trying again. Where? Is it a scroll down maybe? No? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, we got it. We've already had a line of acknowledgement here, but always recognition that Foundry services and Foundry centers operate across this province on Indigenous territories. Indigenous, Métis, Inuit, and recognition of all those lands, those territories, those traditions is really important as part of the Foundry message, model, and services that we bring forward. So very grateful that, of course, here we're on traditional Tk'emlúps-Te territory. There we go. Okay. So some quick context for those who've maybe only heard it 2 or 3 times here. You may hear about Interior Community Services and Foundry Kamloops a little bit interchangeably. What it is that ICS, or Interior Community Services, holds the provincial contract to bring the Foundry model and program to this region. So again, ICS, Foundry, all one in together, but Foundry is that project that ICS holds. And you can see the various streams of service that ICS holds, right from kind of prenatal to senior care to housing to food security. It's quite frankly easier to say what we don't do than what we do at ICS, and have been operating here in Kamloops and the region for decades. So Foundry Kamloops fits beautifully in that youth stream of service. And important for everyone to recognize here is that the decision for ICS to hold the Foundry Kamloops contract was a collective decision by this community. Foundry provincially always wants each community to put one application forward, which requires a lot of community collaboration, discussion, and decision about who holds that contract. And ICS was the recipient, the front runner, if you will, for holding this contract, which speaks beautifully to the relationships we have as we got the contract and now as we move forward with development. That map is a little bit hard to see. That's the province of BC, and just recognition that Foundry provincially is really moving forward in a great way. In the blue, you can see all the open and operational Foundry centers, those physical spaces that are already offering services across the province, and those that are coming. Foundry Kamloops is circled in red there. There are currently more Foundry centers in development than are operational, but what this is going to look like in the next few years are 35 centers open and operational across this province. And layered within this and on top of this are Foundry virtual services that are available right now for free for young people and family members to access. And that's the same set of services that will be offered in person. Those are virtual, which is really important to know for those who prefer to access services virtually, as well as for while we're in development here, and you can't get to a physical center in an easy way, those are available right now. So what is Foundry? I've said this before to many of you before. It's integrated preventative health services for young people and family members. There's a very specific age range, ages 12 to 24 years old, and their family and caregivers. And that's who that young person designates as their family or caregiver. So that could be mom and dad, that could be uncle, that could be grandma, whoever that young person designates as an important figure in their life and supporting them, they can access services at a Foundry center as well. Really recognizing that you can't help that young person in a Foundry center and then send them back to a space that's not serving them. As I mentioned before, it's preventative. We're meant to be upstream, focused on when a problem is small, maybe when you don't even know there's a problem for a young person or a family member. That's when we want to see folks in a Foundry center. And why that's so important is that will help alleviate the downstream pressures on more acute services like hospitals, emergency departments. It's low barrier. The idea is that young people can walk in and access services that same day. We'll always have some drop-in availability for things. We'll also have by appointment. And really, the whole point of this is to transform access to care for young people and families. We know there's wait lists. We know it's hard to access a number of services. This was developed in this way to help alleviate that. The mission you can see there is to support young people to live a good life. When you think of Foundry and Foundry Kamloops, it's for young people by young people. And we do that by supporting young people and their families and their community. You can see a couple pictures up there of the space. It is meant to be youthful, vibrant, uplifting, and then we'll speak a little bit more about our Kamloops and what we're doing to really build our space to reference our landscape here. But those spaces there in the picture and ours here in Kamloops are very much designed with intention and really focused on what our youth want to see in that space, so they will feel as welcome and included as possible. You can see the 5 streams of service that Foundry Kamloops and Foundry centers across the province offer. So you can see there's a physical and sexual health. That'll look like a doctor, nurse practitioner, those primary care services. Those are going to be offered in our Foundry Kamloops space. We are currently building 3 physical doctor, nurse practitioner exam rooms in our space. We're looking at mental health services. That can look like one-on-one clinical counseling. That can look like small groups. That can look like family supports. That can look like yoga. That can look like working in a community garden. Anything that fits under mental health and can support young people and families can find a home in Foundry Kamloops, especially in that preventative area. Right now we have, I want to say, 6 kind of small talking rooms, some larger rooms for family support. So we're really trying to make that a priority, as all Foundry centers do, to support the wellness and mental health of our young people and families. Substance use support is very important, recognition of the toxic drug supply and its impact it's having on young people and families across this province. And in a preventative space like Foundry centers, that looks often like counseling, group supports, really kind of those upstream spaces. And then if someone is further along a path of entrenched substance use, those get referred out to the acute services that are already doing that great work. Social services, this is where interior community services can come in really strong. We're already doing a lot of this great work and well-connected, but recognizing it's hard to navigate all the services when you're your best self. So that support is there, and that those services can also be offered in our center by Foundry Kamloops, by ICS, but also other partners in our community. So that young person can come into our physical space and access a range of services from a range of people, all in one space, and make it look seamless for that young person. Last but certainly not least is peer support, recognizing that young people want to connect with, work with, hear from young people who may have had a similar experience, have navigated systems of care. And the peer support also goes for family members. A lot of family members, whether that's mom, dad, grandma, uncle, who are supporting young people, also need support navigating systems, connecting with folks. So we'll have both youth peer support and family peer support in our space. You can see how to access Foundry services there on the slide. There's a website with a lot of resources. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. Various Foundry centers across the province, and the Foundry virtual services, which are through an app. And again, those are free upstream. You can access same-day appointments. One thing I didn't mention on the previous slide, but I want to mention now, is with that app and with our services, it's self-referral, which is a little bit of a different model than what we're used to seeing. The idea being that a young person, we want to empower them, or that caregiver, to book their own appointments, make their own decisions around their healthcare and what they need. So you don't need a doctor's referral to access services in our Foundry Center. You can come in and self-refer, and we'll also help guide you to where you might need to go. But really centering that person and their experience and what they feel will best work for them is very much part of the Foundry model. A few stats from our last impact report here. You can see over 78,000 young people access Foundry services across the province, which equals over 16,000 unique youth. If you can look at those green graph bars, the 11, 15, 17, that's kind of the growth that we're seeing year over year. The 11, 15, 17 are the number of centers that are open and operational. As I mentioned, we're getting towards 35 centers that will eventually be open and operational, as well as the virtual services are being subscribed more and more. Those numbers are going to keep going, which is a really positive picture. This preventative service is working, and more people are going to have access to it. One stat I always want to highlight here is that 46%, how people find out about Foundry and how they hear about, how they first enter a Foundry center, is through family, through friends, through community. So it's really, really important that this is a community message, that you talk about it with people, with your neighbors, with your families, even just knowing about it, because almost 30% of young people, when they report how they heard about Foundry, 30% of people, when they say what they would have done if they had not accessed Foundry services, is they would have gone nowhere. The problem might have just developed further. It wouldn't have been addressed. So telling people about what this is incredibly important, especially because it means that a lot of these young people are not accessing services if they don't come to a Foundry Center. So here's kind of one of the takeaways I want to say, and I said it at the beginning, Foundry Kamloops is a regional priority. This is, hopefully everyone recognizes this map, and that red star in the middle is Kamloops. There's 3 yellow stars around that map, and those are the closest open and operational Foundry centers. So we have Foundry Caribou-Chilcotin in Williams Lake, we have Foundry Kelowna, and then we have that 1 star towards the bottom left is meant to kind of represent all the Foundry centers that are open in the Lower Mainland. So really, you're looking at a 2-ish hour drive to your closest Foundry center from here right now. And then when you look at kind of the ways we move across this province, up Highway 5, we're the center that's going to be offering services to people regionally. We already know people from this community travel to access Foundry services elsewhere. We're anticipating that we are going to have regional travel to our center going forward. So it's really important to share the message and support this initiative because it's going to support everyone. In case that wasn't clear, I have another slide about how it's a regional priority. Here's the health SDA area, just again showing Kamloops and where those closest Foundry centers are. This map looks very similar if you put an SD 73 map behind it, a TRHD map, you name it. We're that one center, that physical space to offer these integrated services to young people in this region. And that's why this is so important. If we can get ahead of some of these problems, it will help downstream. That's why we're preventative upstream. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague here, Sadie, to share a little bit more about Foundry Kamloops.
Welcome.
Thanks, Lisa. So the one thing I'll add is Foundry Kamloops is a regional priority, but it's also serving the region. So it's servicing the area. Foundry Kamloops is almost a misnomer, if you will, because it's not just for Kamloops, it's for everyone in the area. And no youth would ever be turned away. So one of the reasons that a lot of the centers have similar coloring and branding is so a youth who goes to any community, if they see that, then they'll know what it means. They'll know what Foundry is. If they go to Penticton, Terrace, anywhere that has a Foundry established already and they see that, they know what to expect when they go inside. They'll feel comfortable, hopefully. So it's also recognizable for that region, or for that reason. So the hope is that Foundry Kamloops will support the region in that way, and then also support anyone who's coming through, caregiver or youth who needs to access services if they happen to be here. So this location is just over there, 1 block over at 540 Seymour Street. So if you're familiar with Chems, you might know it as Desert Gardens, the senior center. That first floor of that building was generously gifted to Interior Community Services last year by the Seniors Community Center. So that was a $3.5 million capital donation of space. So once we had that space, we were able to get things going and hit the ground running with a capital campaign. The space itself will be about 8,500 square feet, which is pretty substantial. And the location being downtown, close to transit and the schools was also something that was decided upon and identified by the community and through engagement as the downtown being the location that would be the most easily accessible for the most people. So Interior Community Services spent a number of years trying to find a space downtown. So without that donation, we wouldn't be moving into what we are right now, which is renovating the space. So renovation started September. So if you want to go for a walk and stretch your legs at any point and you're in this building, just pop over 1 block and you'll see the renovations underway. You can peek in the windows and they're all painted up. So we had youth come in and other community members come in and create a fun look on the outside. Hoping to open doors in late summer, early fall 2026. Right now, Lisa is very busy with operational planning. So we have what's known as a governance committee. It's identified down below. So our anchor table. Those are all the service providers and community members who have some part of servicing youth or providing access to services for youth in the region and community. So they're all part of the conversation in terms of determining what services are going to be a good fit for this area. So it's decided by the anchor table, by the youth advisory, and by the family advisory committees. Everyone has input and is coming together regularly to what is needed here, what is specific here, because it will be different and look different than it will in Prince George or than it would in, say, Cranbrook or the Lower Mainland, because what's available here is different. So right now we're full swing for that capital campaign to support those renovations. We had a big fundraiser over there in August. Some of you came by and thank you for the support. It was pretty fun. We had a rec-it room. We thought, what better way to kick off the renovations than to actually smash some things in the space and let off some steam, which is also supporting mental health, get a little stress out. So it was greatly attended, and we are well on our way. So we have just under $1 million left to go. And we've had a great amount of community and regional support so far. So we wanted to come here today to give an overview of how Foundry Kamloops fits into the regional context for providing those preventative upstream health-based services and where we are with capital campaign. Because I think Lisa presented to the TRHD board before and we hadn't started that part yet. So I think we've raised another $1 million and a bit since she was here. So we're getting there. We're really excited about our progress. And I think that's a rendering of the outside of what it will look like on that side of the building. So that will be a significant change to the streetscape as well. And we are hoping to have a public open house before the end of this year, just so people can sneak in and see the progress for the renovations if you're interested. And just some key takeaways is, again, it's integrated youth services for youth and their caregivers, youth between 12 and 24, and provides those streams of services. It's free, no referral required. And I will say, like, the app is very good. So if you know a young person or a caregiver who needs some supports or has a question or is looking for counseling or any information for how to support their young person, or a young person who might feel more comfortable texting, the app is great. So I encourage sharing that information now. And yeah, no referrals required. And that's it. So we're here to answer any questions if you have them.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I think I saw a lot of eyes perk up when you showed that big map and how it really does overlay with the TNRD or TRHD. But I do have a speakers list, and we have Director Birch Jones, Demare, and Sarai. We'll go with Director Birch Jones.
Thank you. Vivian Birch Jones. I'm Area B with the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, and we are coincidentally in Pemberton building a foundry. It's about halfway there, I think. Also seeking more funding, but also, like you guys, fairly far down the road. I was wondering when I heard you talking about the doctors and nurse practitioners working, I'm assuming those are licensed professionals, and will they be able to access the electronic health records, and will they be able to make referrals themselves outside of the foundry? And thank you. This is good work, and thank you for your report.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, hitting the data questions right away. I love it. So yes, we are partnered with many service providers, including Interior Health, including the Division of Practice here in our region. And part of our primary care network, we're going to be working with them to have some resources in our space who are going to be IHA contracts. So that family physician, nurse practitioner in our space licensed, they will have access to the relevant EMR systems or medical records. Our Foundry Center will also have an EMR system. There's lots of fun data and tech privacy pieces that we're working out now, but the answer is yes, they're licensed. They're going to be doctors and nurse practitioners. We are working towards that here. And yeah, Foundry Sea to Sky is very exciting. I like to follow your progress over there in Pemberton and up that valley. It's awesome. Did that answer your question in full though? Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Demare.
Thank you for the presentation. It's a great initiative, and look forward to your new facility. I've got two questions. The first one is related to the Williams Lake. I lived in Williams Lake for over 28 years and was heavily involved in youth organizations. And few of them were Salvation Army, working with youth at risk, Boys and Girls Club as a director, and they were doing a lot of the items that you listed in what you're doing, but now they've got a Foundry, which is great. And the third one was, I was a big brother with big brothers and big sisters. I had a youth. Do you reach out to these organizations and let them know what you're doing, what's available to the youth? Because they'd be a great provider too for youth to come in and use some of the services.
Yes, thank you for the question. I think I heard it all essentially around how we partner with other youth serving organizations and share information and making sure everyone knows what we're doing. I think is what the question largely is. And the answer to that is yes. So those committees that we have listed at an earlier slide, our governance committee is composed of kind of the major services that we'll be providing out of Foundry. So whether that's healthcare, social services, mental health. So you mentioned Boys and Girls Club. They are at our governance table already. The YMCA is there. Interior Health is there. Ministries there. School districts there. Really, we could go on and list all the youth serving services that are at our table and working right now really collaboratively to figure out how to integrate. One of the beautiful things about Foundry is it is very collaborative, very integrated. In fact, we don't hit it out of the park unless we do that good work right now and be really up close with that. So they all know what we're doing. We know what they're doing. And a lot of what the great work they're doing is just being a little bit reorganized. So some of it will be offered in our space. But the lovely thing is that when that young person or family member walks in, it all looks seamless and it's all Foundry, even if it's all integrated services from different areas.
That's awesome. Thank you. My second question is on Indigenous youth. Are they able to come to get the services, and have they taken it up UP-wide?
I didn't really hear the question. Sorry, I didn't really hear the question.
Oh, sorry. I'll talk a little bit louder. Indigenous youth, do they come for the services? And if they do, is there a percentage-wise across BC?
Do Indigenous youth come to Foundry Center is the question? Yes. So the short answer is yes, they do. In fact, Indigenous kind of frameworks are very much built into the models that we offer at Foundries across province and here at Foundry Kamloops. What that looks like in each individual Foundry Center varies a little bit, of course, because every community is a little bit different, but we are working close with our Indigenous partners here to make sure they know what we're doing, how we can support them. Part of it is we want other service providers to provide services in our space, but it's a two-way street. How can we support them? How can we build in resources or staffing that supports their needs as well? So those are very much active conversations here, and absolutely every young person is welcome in our space, just period.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Surratt.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the great presentation. I've heard it before and I get excited every time I hear it. I was at that Foundry Smash, and I think that was the one day in a year I didn't have any stress, so I didn't break anything. But just a question, two questions. Your capital projects, you're almost there, you're $1 million short. How is your funding going to be operational moving forward? Is that sustainable, and who's going to be funding that? That's my first question.
Thank you for that question. I wanted to mention that in my presentation. I think I forgot. Yes, so we are fundraising for our capital campaign to build that space. We do have ongoing operational dollars from the province to support our operational needs once we're open and running. What we really need is this push to get the space built and fund that. And the reason it is 4.5 million and designed as it is because it's really centering not only health and safety considerations and concerns, but what our youth and family members have said they want to make that space as welcoming, as inclusive as we can. So we do have operational dollars. Those are in hand. We are going to be having those going forward.
Supplemental.
Supplemental.
The second question, and I think the previous director touched on it, the one group I didn't see there, and my past experience is our community coaches for whether it's soccer, baseball. They're not connected to any schools. They're just residents that have volunteered to coach teams. And I remember back in the day, there was, you could see signs of youth that could use some assistance. So how do we reach those community sports teams, coaches or managers or parents? Is there something we can reach out to Kamloops Sports Council and give them a heads up that this is available, because they wouldn't know about this?
A great question. So you mentioned Sports Council. Yes, absolutely. One of the great things with all this work and me talking in all these places is actually some of these sports organizations are actually coming to us already, whether it's support for the capital campaign or how to get involved. TRU Wolfpack, for example, you're absolutely right. That's a great space to access and share resources. So one of the things we're always doing is just sharing right away the Foundry virtual services. Right, that's what's here right now. It's free. It's just another tool for the toolkit for folks to know about, especially for those coaches who are closely connected to youth. So yes, always looking to do more of that. But you're absolutely right. We are working with those spaces.
Thank you. So I have Director Getz, Middleton, O'Connor, Grenier, and Bass. Director Getz.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Got a question on substance support. Now, I see the ages are from 12 to 24. Now, when we talk about substance support, are we talking about a road to recovery? You're also going to be having kids under the age of 18 in there with people over the age of 18. And under the 2.5 decrim, they're going to be allowed to carry their drugs into the building over the age of 18 because it is legal. How are you going to work on that, and what are being offered for recovery? Because to be 100% honest with you, I would kind of update that substance support to be a little bit more clear, because people are going to say, you're supporting substance abuse, or what's going on here? So I'm just wondering, how will you work that? And is there an avenue for recovery for people that are seeking it? And what would that look like? So I'm just curious.
That is a great question. And I would love to give you specifics on that, but that's really what we're working out with our partners and experts right now through the operational planning. So Foundry's in generally, right, preventative upstream. So again, typically what that looks like is those counseling pieces, group supports, and things that we are closely partnered with MHSU, or mental health substance use and interior health, and working at dividing those lines and making sure that we're in scope in Foundry. And then pieces that are not in that preventative stream will be referred out to spaces that can better support that. Okay.
Thank you. Director Middleton.
Thank you for your great work. This probably just goes a little bit in future, or if any of the other Foundry operations are already doing this. And is there any plan to operate at all with, I'm going to call like satellite or outreach workers going into the communities? As large as our region is, there's going to be youth who would really benefit from Foundry, but will not have access to being able to get into Kamloops to receive that support. I don't know whether it's like sort of satellite offices or small, you know, one day a week you're in one community here and then another day of the week, so that you would have a little bit of exposure beyond our city boundaries. And for youth that have no access, we don't have a good bus system. We don't have, you know, a lot of them won't have any transport, no means to actually get here. Is there any anticipation that this service would be expanded to a somewhat physical presence, if not satellite offices, but at least perhaps scheduled visits into communities?
That's a great question. You're hitting some really important pieces right away around transportation for young people and from kind of more rural and remote spaces. So there's been some early conversations with surrounding regions, for example, about how we can support, what support might look like for them. Again, we always want to center what the youth are needing in those spaces. So I mentioned kind of traveling up Highway 5, if you will, and having almost like services that could be offered in those spaces. It's a complicated answer ultimately, because we'll have a bunch of different service providers from different organizations that have different mandates and service delivery areas. And what we do have with Foundry provincially, though, is a rural and remote team that can also support that. So where we can kind of gather some information and understand what the needs are, they can come in also to support some of those rural and remote needs. So often that can look like virtual services and then us providing some support so young people can access them. But what I would love to do, it's in my wish list right now, is to make sure we can offer in-person services more regionally than certainly our center. And even locally here, just having the ability for peer support, for example, to move around our community and support young people. Because even if you're here in Kamloops, it can be a challenge just to get to a space, whether that's mentally or physically. So having outreach in various forms is high on our radar and something we're going to work towards.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director O'Connor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent presentation. You mentioned partnering, having School District 73 at the table. Are 57 and 74 also at the table?
Right now, they are not, although I do share information further than SD 73. Why 73 is kind of the focus right now, of course, is it's kind of the main area where our region is. But for example, I am quite well connected with the superintendent from SD 74, who was wonderful. Again, right now in the development stage, we're really looking at those virtual supports and sharing that information. But as we move forward in this year and really digging into the granular of those operational considerations is how do we support those regions as well?
I think that's really important that, you know, the schools are such a connection to the youth. And I was going to ask a second question, but I think Margot asked it about outreach programs. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Greiner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious about the how things are going relative to the custodial legal relationship on the younger side of the equation. You've got people 12 to say 16 or 18, and so there presumably are some custodial legal arrangements in place. How do you deal with that aspect of it?
Can you be, I'm just trying to.
Well,
how it's
I would presume that in many of these cases, that relationship is broken, whoever the custodial relationship is, but in cases where it's not quite broken, how does that work for you in terms of being able to access records and provide direction or assistance? Just wondering if you had a comment on that.
So I'm trying to think about how best to frame this. So of course, we'll have all the various kind of providers and professionals in our space who I'm just making an example here, but presumably if there's a young person who's already connected to systems of care, those records and those files, again, where appropriate and legally required, can be shared within this group. Again, these are some of the data sharing agreements and partnerships that we're looking at right now. But the idea is that if systems are broken or information can be shared and needs to be shared, that is the point of Foundry, to center that young person, to support them going forward. So that's a very general answer, but I'm not sure if I'm hitting.
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines where you were facing some sort of opposition or resistance from a custodial relation, you know, in cases of divorce or other situations that can be sometimes a challenge. And I just wondered how you're dealing that with a 12-year-old that shows up. Seems to me an issue that you'd have to contend with.
We do, and if I'm hearing you right, you're kind of referring to the kind of legal requirements of under 12, over 12, family justice pieces, and all of those will be, I'll say, considered at this point. Again, we're not open and operational. I don't have the nitty gritty for you, but those are all absolutely things that these professionals who are already doing that work navigate and will continue to navigate in our center. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main focus of Foundry is to be youth serving without any barriers. So any youth can access it on their own accord and advocate for themselves. And then if there were health requirements and different access requirements down the road, then that would be navigated as we move forward. But ultimately, if a youth 12 or of that younger age was to come to Foundry and access services, they wouldn't be turned away. Regardless of any of those other pieces. And I think one of the other things I wanted to mention, even around the outreach, is one of the beautiful things about why Interior Community Services was nominated and put forward as a host agency is because it's part of a continuum of services for youth. in the region. So Interior Community Services also has the youth street outreach down on Seymour the other direction, and Kamloops Youth Shelter, and the mobile crisis response for youth. So are already tapped into a lot of systems and different programs and structures that deal with and address some of those other pieces. So that we can bring that knowledge and those professionals that we have in the agency already together to support Foundry as a program.
Thank you. And Director Bass to close.
Two questions, thank you. Number one, I know you're here because you want us to go out and spread the word. What resources do you have that are available for those who don't live in Kamloops where they can share all this information with their communities? That's number one. Number two, while it was really therapeutic watching Director Sarai work out his stress in your Smash It Up thing, do you have any other fundraising events coming forward that we should be promoting or that we can participate in? Or sorry, how are you getting your money?
Resources, thank you for the questions. We have Foundry virtual resources, so we can share some things, maybe assuming through Marnie or somebody else, we can share some information on Foundry virtual, like a PDF document that you can share. We try to get it out into all of the schools and anywhere where youth might be in general. So we're happy to share that. We can leave physical copies somewhere if that's preferred. We have postcards and things like that. And then we can provide information about different streams of services if that's of interest to you. And we don't currently have any fundraising activities like the Smash coming up, but just, I guess, stay tuned. We will be in the community and we hope to be at a Blazers game in January as the nonprofit of choice, I guess. So January 17th? 10th. So we'll be there, so you can see us there.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Certainly that was very informative for the board, and I think for Lisa and Sadie. If you can please let us know when the open house does happen, send it off to staff so we can share it with the board and any events that you do have coming up, because I think a lot of the members here would be interested. But thank you very much for coming in today. Thank you. Thank you. And we will move on to 6.1, and we've got quite a delegation here. And so I'm going to let the delegation introduce themselves because we have some in person, some online as well. And I think the best way to go about this is we'll do the general updates and capital projects report, and then we'll do questions, and then we'll move into the cancer center and then questions from there. So we will hand it over to whoever wants to take the mic from Interior Health. Thank you.
Good. Well, thank you for having me here today and our delegation from Interior Health. I'm Dan Goffner, Corporate Director in Business Operations at Interior Health. With me from IH, I've got two folks who I think you're quite familiar with. So Diane Kostachuk, who's a director on our business operations team, as well as Jerry Desilets, who's our Executive Director of Clinical Operations at Royal Inland Hospital. So I'm the new face here. I'm stepping in for Todd Mastel. I think you would know him from previous meetings. He's now retired, lucky him. So I'm stepping in for him as your finance person for the RHD. Well, I'm new to you all. I'm not new to IH. I've been with IH for 20 years, and I've been working with regional hospital districts for 9. So I know I've got some pretty big shoes to fill with Todd being gone, but I do look forward to working with you all in improving healthcare in the Thompson-Nicola region. Having heard the land acknowledgement, that's great. Thank you very much. I'll move us on then to a bit of an agenda. So a bit of a quick overview for what I'll be chatting on today. So beginning by talking about the Phil and Jenny Gallardi Tower project, a bit of an update on the phase 2 portion of that project. And then we'll move over to just general project updates by community for all the capital projects that are active right now. And then we'll just move to some questions at the end. So since the last update from Interior Health, a number of additional spaces have opened up as part of phase 2 of the Phil and Jenny Gallardi Tower project. So the new daycare surgery space opened almost a year ago, December 15th of 2024. You can just see a photo here of the entrance to that new space in the site. In March of this last year, phase 1 of the morgue was completed and it's now in use. So this included a new autopsy suite, including a bariatric table, which can hold up to 900 pounds, a new cooler room, increasing the crypt spaces from 21 to 30, new equipment, using new ergonomic and height adjustable technology to enhance workplace safety in the morgue, new entrance and improved lighting, creating a bright and modern workspace. And then a private area, which can hold up to 30 people that can be used for viewings or identification. And it's also ventilated to accommodate spiritual practices such as smudging as needed. And then lastly, portions of phase 2 of the tech emergency department were completed with the new spaces officially opening on September 9th. So that included the new mental health and substance use care zone, which nearly doubles the size and capacity of the previous space. There's now 8 stretchers in the area, up from 4, and 3 secure rooms to provide better support for patients who are in a significant crisis. It also features calming rooms, natural light, private consultation rooms, and dedicated team areas. Phase 2 also included some renovations to a portion of the acute treatment area in the emergency department by adding 3 new exam rooms. Looking ahead, the remaining major milestones for phase 2 of the tower project include the new medical imaging and vascular department within the tech emergency department. That's slated to be completed by the fall. The final refresh of the finishes within the public concourse space, which should be complete around spring of 2026. Phase 3 of the tech emergency department, which will complete the remainder of the acute treatment zone by next summer. Phase 2 of the morgue renovation, which will provide for a second autopsy suite, storage space, office and staff changing room, slated for 1 year from now, fall of 2026. And then lastly, phase 4 of the emergency department, which is the trauma and resuscitation zone, which should be complete by April of 2027. And then one final update on the Phil and Jenny Ghilardi Tower Phase 2 project. So the budget has required an additional increase of 33 million. The increase is 100% funded by the Ministry of Health, so IH is not requesting any additional funds from the Thompson-RHD for this project. With the increase, the revised total budget for phase 2 is now 148 million, and the overall total project budget for the whole of the tower is 490 million. The drivers behind this increase, we're seeing increases in material and labor costs coming out of the pandemic that were not accounted for in the original budget. We did need to schedule some extensions to the schedule beyond what was originally planned for, arising from a delayed start on some of the phases of the project, temporary labor shortages, and some unanticipated impacts on some of the project sequencing. And then unforeseen challenges within the existing building infrastructure. When you're working with old buildings, you can sometimes come across things not anticipated. So needed a little bit of redesign in the plan and of course extended the schedule to address that. Okay, so shifting to updates of other projects by community. We start off in Ashcroft at the Ashcroft Community Care Center, with the first project being the access control system. This project was to integrate a number of interior and exterior doors of the facility with building access system by way of card readers and keypads in order to enhance security within the building. We did see some delays of this project due to hazardous material abatement planning and the additional time needed to review bids on the tender there. Things are moving along now, which is good. We expect to see the project complete by December of this year. And then next is an emergency generator upgrade project. This will replace the existing generator from 2003 with a new model to ensure reliable and emergency power to all essential services on the site. The project was initiated in August, and so we estimate completion for March of 2027. And then last for Ashcroft is the replacement of millwork within the medical imaging space. This will replace outdated millwork in the main radiology area, as well as the multipurpose room to comply with infection prevention and control standards. The inspection and sampling of any hazardous materials is now complete, and so procurement can begin shortly. And we expect the project to be done by March of 2026. Moving to Barrier, we have the general radiographic system replacement project. The current X-ray system there is a 2004 model and was due to be replaced by a digital general radiographic system, which will allow the site to perform exams that were not previously available. The project includes the equipment itself, as well as some renovations to the existing lead-lined room to meet current diagnostic accreditation standards. Currently, the 50% design drawings are now complete and the cost estimate is in progress. We expect this project to be complete by February of next year. Moving to Clearwater, we have a couple of projects to update. First is the renewable energy upgrade. This project will install heating loop heat pumps, solar and geo exchange to reduce our operating costs and avoid some greenhouse gas emissions. Work's now underway with the project in the construction phase. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, we expect this project to be complete by February of 2026. And then next is the general radiographic system. So this one's quite similar to what I just described for Barrier. In this case, we're replacing a 2001 model. The project scope's also quite similar, including equipment, replacement of the X-ray equipment with a digital model, and then renovations to the existing space. This one is now largely complete with the closeout now having been initiated. And then you can see a couple photos on the slide with a bit of a ribbon cutting ceremony for the opening of that new equipment. Okay. So now turning to Kamloops, we start with a couple of projects at Hillside Center. First is the replacement of the fire suppression line within the parkade at the facility. And then second is the replacement of all the flooring within the facility given its age and condition. Both of these projects are underway with the tender awarded, and we're just waiting to receive the vendor's work schedule. And we estimate that both projects should be complete by December of this year. Next is the Kamloops Long-Term Care Business Plan. So work on this business plan is currently on pause. IH is seeking further direction from the ministries on their support for the next round of long-term care facility redevelopments and expansion. The Ministry of Health and the new Ministry of Infrastructure is reviewing all healthcare capital priorities across BC given the current financial environment. Focus for the coming year, we expect will be really on addressing cost escalation pressures of the projects that are already underway before assessing the affordability and timing of the next capital priorities. So for IH, the long-term care in Kamloops is a very high priority. We'll continue to provide updates to the TRHD as we learn more about long-term care projects from the ministry. And then next is the Lansdowne Care Center, or Lansdowne Center Mental Health and Substance Use Central Hub project. This project is to create a central location within the Lansdowne Center for Mental Health and Substance Use Services within Kamloops. IH is in the process of awarding the construction contractor, after which work will begin within this lease space. And we expect completion of the project in April of 2026. Continuing in Kamloops, we have a project at Ponderosa Lodge long-term care site to replace the emergency generator and transfer switch. This is a 30-year-old system that's beyond its life. Project is nearly through the design phase with construction of the project set to be tendered soon. And we aim to have that one complete by January of 2027. And then at the South Hills Tertiary Psychiatric Rehabilitation Center, we are replacing the fire suppression line in order to maintain the fire sprinkler coverage for the attic space in the two buildings there. Work is progressing on the project with the tender now having been awarded and the schedule is under development. At this stage, we're estimating the project to be done by December of this year. We now shift to projects at Royal Inland Hospital, with the first one being an upgrade to the pharmacy, air filtration, and airflow handling units. This was to ensure that IH was compliant with the standards for sterile compounding of drugs as dictated by the National Association of Pharmacy Regulatory Authorities. That's a mouthful. The project is now substantially complete with just the final closeout procedures being the last step before full completion of the project. Next is a project to upgrade the electrical and mechanical systems within the South Tower at the hospital, which was initiated as part of the Patient Care Tower project for various infrastructure needs across the site that needed to be addressed at Royal Inland Hospital. So work's continuing on this project, and we expect completion for June of next year. And then we have a project that will replace the humidifiers within the hospital. So this is equipment that was put into service in the 1980s, and they're at the point of not being serviceable any longer. And this will replace the gas-fired humidifiers with more energy-efficient units. The electrical work to support this is now underway, and we expect to see this project complete this fall. We also have the implementation of the meal delivery system on the site. So this gives patients broader choices when it comes to meals provided at the hospital, while still meeting their clinical nutritional needs. The project will replace a rethermalization equipment last purchased in 2003, as well as some renovations to install it and some associated IT hardware and software. This project's largely complete now, just the final closeout procedures remaining for it to be closed out. Next is the project to renovate and equip 2 vacated operating room spaces within the hospital located in the South Tower. When the Phil and Jenny Ghilardi Tower opened, the 9 existing ORs within the South Tower were relocated to the new tower. So this project will reopen 2 of the ORs in the South Tower, which require renovations and equipment to be purchased and installed. And these 2 ORs will, of course, increase surgical capacity on the site. The final purchase orders for the required equipment are being actioned, and we expect the project to complete by December of this year. And then next is a project to install an additional HVAC air handling unit on site to support adequate airflow to the pharmacy. This project is well underway as well, with design recently completed and construction started. We also have some good news to share regarding the budget for this project. As we worked through the design phase, we determined that a lower cost solution would meet the same requirements for the airflow. So savings were achieved of approximately $1.5 million on the overall project cost, so a $3 million project down to 1.5, so about a 50% savings, which means $600,000 savings for the RHD. It was determined that a full air handler wasn't required, and then instead we could add booster fans to move the air to the pharmacy and meet the air circulation needs that way. Still at the hospital, we have a project to install 4 automatic endoscope reprocessors, which will clean and disinfect flexible gastroscopes and colonoscopes at the site. Design for this project has now started. We're estimating that the project will complete in April of 2026. Next, we have the install of an additional heat recovery chiller on site. This net new equipment will be integrated with the existing systems and provide increased heating and cooling capacity within the site, as well as improve system resiliency through extreme weather events. The scope of work documents are being prepared and will progress soon. We expect this one to complete in April of next year. We also have the replacement of the cold water main lines that run from the city's main line to the site's backflow preventers. This equipment is actually original to the building, so it's over 15 years old now. And the project is about to be tendered, and we expect that to be complete in June of next year. Next, we have the relocation and replacement of a waste compactor. The current equipment is past its useful life, having been purchased in 2007, experiencing frequent breakdowns. The scope of work is currently being reviewed, which will be followed by an RFP for the design consultant. And we expect completion in about a year from now, October 2026. We're also purchasing an additional urinalysis analyzer for the lab in order to meet increased testing demands at the hospital. It'll also help improve turnaround time and increase automation in the lab. We're in the procurement phase, which will determine the equipment specifications that are required to meet the need and be appropriate within the lab space. And we expect the equipment to be received and in use by March of next year. We're also replacing a dishwasher in the hospital. So the current 2006 model is beyond its useful life and is experiencing frequent repairs, causing some service disruption at the hospital. Construction in preparation for the install of the equipment is expected to begin shortly. And the overall project completion is estimated for February 2027, although I'm wondering if that's a year or two out. So I'll have to double check that one and I can correct it next time I'm back with you all. Next, we have the purchase and install of the fixed operating room equipment associated with the larger project at RAH. So as I'd mentioned on the previous slide, we're completing renos and installing equipment for 2 new ORs on the site. Given the need for phasing on the construction of the new ORs tied in with the Phil and Jenny Ghilardi Tower, there are actually multiple phases to see the completion of these 2 ORs. So this phase is for having fixed equipment to be installed in the operating rooms within the Phil and Jenny Ghilardi Tower itself. So things like the ceiling mounted booms and OR lights that hang down from the ceiling. The equipment vendor has now been awarded, so the project is moving to the design and construction phase. Our capital team has not been able to provide us with a completion date yet, but we should have that available for you the next time we meet. The last project at RAH is the interventional radiology suite replacement. So the current equipment in the suite is from 2012, and it's also beyond its useful life. So the scope of work for this project is currently being reviewed, after which we'll release an RFP for the design consultant to begin their work. Estimated completion for this project is this December of 2026, pardon me. So we now shift to Lillooet and the Lillooet Hospital and Health Center, where we have a number of projects. First is to replace the humidity steam boiler system, which is critical for the clinical environment and patient comfort and safety within the site. This is a 35-year-old system. The project's now in for tender, and at this stage, we estimate the project will be done in March of 2027. We're also replacing the general radiographic system in Lillooet, so we're doing a number of these at some of our sites. The current X-ray system is from 2003, and will also be replaced with a digital radiographic system. This project will also require renovations within the space to meet current accreditation standards. And this one's actually also largely finished and with the equipment ready to be used. Next is a project to improve access to the biomass penthouse burner by replacing the current attached ladder on the outside of the building with an engineered steel stair structure. The design is now being finalized and we expect this project to be complete in the fall. We're also replacing the nurse call system within the hospital, as well as the Mountain View Lodge, a long-term care site. This will replace a 1999 system with a new hardwired nurse call. Construction is almost complete and staff training is now begun. So we expect to see this project complete very soon with closeout coming this fall. We're also upgrading the elevator within the hospital, so this will be necessary given replacement parts are becoming a challenge to source. So modernization of the elevator will increase its reliability and safety for clients, visitors, and staff. The project is also now in its final stages of completion, so we should see closeout within the next month or two. And then last, we have a project to replace the outdated wooden millwork within the emergency department and medication room. This project's now in the procurement phase, but we should expect to see it done in about a year's time in September of 2026. And then last, but certainly not least, we have 3 projects to update in merit at the Nicola Valley Hospital and Health Center. First is the replacement of the 1999 model chiller at the site, which is well beyond its recommended 20-year service life. The design kickoff was actually back in June of this year, so the project's now well underway. We anticipate the completion in July of next year, just in time for next summer's cooling season, which will be good. Next is the first phase of a bathroom renovation project at the hospital. So phase 1 will renovate bathrooms in 4 out of the 8 inpatient rooms to improve accessibility and safety for patients and staff by widening the doorways, as well as improving the bathroom layout. The project is currently in for tender, and the expected completion will be in December. And then we have the last project, which is actually phase 2 of the bathroom renovation just mentioned, where the remaining 4 inpatient bathrooms will be completed. So the design will commence once phase 1 reaches the stage where construction can then be sequenced for phase 2 to minimize impact to patient access to the washrooms and beds. And the estimated completion for phase 2 of this project is June of 2026. There, and with that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Great. Thank you for that very detailed report. And I think the board remembers this is something we asked for to get updates as to what's happening in the hospitals and area for what we've been funding specifically. So thank you for that. And Dan and I first met, and it started off by Dan saying there's a $33 million cost overrun, but that we're covering it, which Dan, you set the bar very high for our first meeting. So I look forward to our next meeting. I will pass it over. We have Director Thorpe, Sarai, Blackwell, and Bass. So we will go to Director Thorpe.
Thank you, Chair. So I represent the residents sort of in the south west corner of the TNRD. So I've got 2 questions. Number 1, Ashcroft, you talk about the millwork there. Does that mean that you are going to be replacing the imaging there as well?
So I think the millwork is mostly sort of like the cupboards and countertops and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm not, it's a good question. Where the radiographic system lands within our capital prioritization, but at the moment there isn't an active project.
Okay, that's question number 1. That was the easy one. Now, question number 2 is the Lytton Healthcare Center. The center burnt down in June of 2021, and we're not hearing anything about a permanent structure. And my residents, every time they drive through the village of Lytton, all they see is this cement wall and trees growing through the cement, and they would really like to know what's happening and when, please.
So that, I don't know, Jerry, if you can speak to that. That will have to be takeaway, I think, for us. Karen Cooper, who's executive director with Lytton in her area, I'm sure would have more information.
There has been no updates from Karen Cooper, so I'm hoping that maybe you had an idea what was happening with that capital project.
I'll have to take that one away. Unfortunately, I don't have the details on where the latest is with that project, but definitely noting that that's long outstanding for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Director Sarai.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that presentation. If you go back to the Guardian, and I thank you as well as the Chair did for finding that $33 million. My question is the extension. How much of a time are we looking at past what the original date was? And I guess my other question is, it's such a large increase. Were we not locked in to contract for price and delivery, and then all of a sudden I guess there's a two-part question in there. As we all have capital projects going in our districts, our municipalities, what is the labor that's going up so sharply and what is the materials? Because we're going to be faced with the same thing and that's not broken down. It's easy to say materials and labor. What does that mean?
Yeah, some pieces I think I can answer, some I might need to check with our capital planning team to maybe get some specifics on sort of, is it certain trades where we're seeing those labor pressures and the materials. I can say that with the budget increase, as part of agreeing to the increase, we have locked the price in there, so that should be it as far as any further increases on phase 2 of the tower project. So that's good. I think that was part of the negotiation, ensuring that that would be the last of it. In terms of timelines, yeah, okay, thank you, Jerry.
Hello, my name is Jerry Desley. I'm Executive Director at Royal London Hospital. As far as the timelines, it's about a 3-month increase. But it's a bit complicated because there was a phase 5 that we've just been completing as the MRI. So the total project was supposed to be longer because phase 5 is supposed to be the end, but we found efficiencies to be able to do phase 5 while we did phase 2. So phase 2 and 5 occurred at the same time. But the phase 4 piece that we're talking will be the final pieces will be done in March of 2027, which should have been December 2026. So it's 3 months, but we have actually shrunk the full time because that phase 5 is being finished in this next month coming up.
Thank you for that. Director Blackwell.
Yeah, thank you for all that and the incredible detail and understanding of progress on projects and that sort of thing. And I hate to be the guy to ask specifically about my stuff because that seems to be the trend with us all. On Clearwater with the X-ray and previously the lab projects, there was considerable community donations to those. How was that accounted for in the TRHD and IHA split on expenses on that? And I believe it was several $100,000, if not closer to $1 million on those. So 700, something like that. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. I'll have to admit my being new to supporting the Thompson-Nicola Regional Hospital District is I don't have as much of that history. I would suggest, and I'll need to confirm this, that so looking at the total budget that you would have seen, I realize it's not on screen now, but it was 1.55 million was the total. I would suggest again, but need to confirm that the donations and then the IH contribution would be within the just over $1 million of the sort of 60% portion of that project, if that makes sense.
Supplemental, it looks like possibly.
Yeah, so I see a question from staff there, or a comment from staff potentially.
I can confirm that the TRHD's portion on that project was lowered to 33% rather than our typical contribution portion.
Thank you. That was the answer that I was looking for.
You appreciate that.
It's teamwork at its finest.
Yes.
Director Bass.
Thank you. I'm just going to throw this out, probably not in your bailiwick, but as soon as I get IH people here, I have questions. And the chair's already told me to play nice. I'm curious, I have 2 in particular. I'm curious if you can talk about what the status is of TRFO, which has a 6-month shutdown, but nothing indicating what's going to happen from that point on. And related to that, I'm wondering, and I guess Terry may know this, Kelowna has a women's services clinic, but do we have anything comparable up here in Kamloops that would be providing the same services, which might overlap into the fact that TRFO is kind of struggling right now? And if the chair is really indulgent, I have a 3rd silly question.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So we are working with our TRFO physicians and we're working at plans of how we continue to provide services where I can't share exactly what that is, but we're working with them. We're collaborating with them to see what we can do and how we can support them. Obviously, we cannot go without low-risk maternity services in our community. So it's a high priority for us to get this fixed. And we will, as soon as we can share news, we will share that, but is absolutely top of our mind and what is getting my hair more gray as we speak, because it's something that is super important to all of us and very important to women. your second question, we have opened up last year a women's health clinic within Rural Inland Hospital. That's where obstetrician gynecologist can provide specialized gynecological care, very similar to the Kelowna Clinic. And we've resourced that and supported, so that's open 5 days a week for our obstetrician gynecologist now to provide that care, which we didn't have previously. So that was investments we made to the hospital to create a space specifically for women's health. So that's a very exciting piece that we opened and resourced last year.
Then I don't have a third question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we're going to have Director O'Reilly and Greiner to close. Just a question, and we saw in there the two new operating rooms that will be opening, just specifically around the operationalization of those and what the plan is, or regarding staffing, because we do hear all the time about specialists and hospitalists that we need. And if you could touch on that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think, so the 12 and 13, it's kind of hard because there was the South Tower work that happened to clean us up. The work we're really doing is now for something called a hybrid OR. And what that is provides a fluoroscopy machine within that. So specialized medical imaging piece of machinery where our vascular surgeons and neurosurgeons can provide care within that. So that's the part we're planning for and building. That's actually within the Glardy Tower. And that was always the plan to take the old internal PAR and create that into the ORs. So, but your question's really around, so that's that bulk of work, and what that is we're working with our teams and we're continuously recruiting. So we just had a new vascular surgeon start. We are working to recruit nurses and really get those operating rooms up. Really our biggest struggle is anesthesiologists right now, but we do have a lot of locums coming through and we are hiring people. But we've had, as some people have come in, others have decided to take the opportunity to retire. And fair enough, they've been holding that flame for a long time, and it's their turn to pass it on to the new group. And very active. Obviously, Heidi Coleman's here from our foundation, but we are always bringing physicians into our community. We are always really showing out the red carpet for physicians that are willing to come, and we do have a lot of locums. And as we get those anesthesiologists, we are building up our surgical teams and our OR nursing teams to provide that care. So we are still planning to operationalize 13 ORs at all times, but we're working on that and always working very proactively to create more staff to operate within them.
Thank you. And Director Greiner to close.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Thank you for the presentation. I was just doing a couple of the numbers on the slides, and I came up with 40%, 37%, 30% for some of these allocations. And I guess my question, maybe even to the chair, are we settling in on 37%? And I just heard Director Blackwell talk about 33%. So I can't tie these things together.
Yeah, I think Director Greiner, and obviously I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but what we saw in front of us, some of those projects were from 2020 or 2021 when funding was committed at 40%. We did go to 33 for a bit to make up for the back pay regarding the Sun Rivers area, and then we've settled on 37 at the end. So it is a mishmash over the last 5 or 6 years, but we have settled down around that 37% going forward.
And I presume, sir, you are on the same page on that?
Maybe just before I go to that, I'll just mention that as Chair O'Reilly had indicated, we definitely see as budgets evolve, sometimes there might be a small cost pressure to a budget that IH is able to absorb that additional cost without needing to come back to the RHD for an additional request, which might then shift the percentages a bit like you had seen, or if we have foundations or auxiliaries supporting us on some of these initiatives, you'd see that as well. So that's why you might see a little bit of that inconsistency there. But yes, certainly regarding the 37% number, it's something that we're well aware of and discussing internally. Of course, we like to request to the 40% if we can, but we also understand and appreciate the challenges the RHDs are facing, and so it's one of those things I think we just need to continue to have conversations about.
Thank you. And we have one last short one from Director Carpuck.
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation. Thank you for the updates. I'm just curious on the technical side with the upgrades to the radiographic equipment in some of our local and outlying hospital clinics and such. Is the capacity to do weight bearing and axial imagery going to be maintained from older equipment to new equipment? Because the trend is to go to supine and prone imagery work where someone lies on the air hockey table, so to speak, because it's easier on the technician, but it really limits the ability to do diagnostic confirmation on some issues. You can't determine if someone has a separated shoulder without axial loading and those types of things. So I'm just curious if that's something that's included in the new upgrades or not.
You know the answer to that one? That might have to be a takeaway as sort of a more technical question. I expect that we wouldn't be reducing sort of the level of service or the quality of the diagnosis by doing that switch, but we can take that back to our medical imaging counterparts and get that confirmation for you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Seeing nothing further, thank you very much for coming in. And I believe now we will go on to a presentation on the Cancer Center.
Thank you very much. I have introduced myself. I'll get Dr. Halperin to quickly introduce himself, and then I'll go through the presentation.
Well, to those who have met before, hello again, and to everybody else, hi, my name is Ross Halperin. I'm Dr. Ross Halperin, radiation oncologist, and I'm the Executive Medical Director for BC Cancer in the Interior. Thanks for inviting me today.
Thank you. And also we have virtually Sheree Taylor. I don't know, Sheree, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
You bet. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheree Taylor. I'm Executive Director for our capital redevelopment. And we have 4 different projects happening right now in British Columbia, and Kamloops being one of them. Nice to meet you all. And sorry I couldn't be there in person today.
Thank you. And I know previously this meeting has been talked about how are we collaborating with another health authority, and I thought it was a great opportunity for us both to come to do a bit of this presentation, as I can only answer so much, and as much as we take the questions away, it's nice for you to have the answers in a quicker means. So hopefully this is helpful to have both of us here today. So it's a title screen. Kind of small writing, and I think you've probably heard this information before, but I think important to know, again, what's going into the new building, the Kamloops Cancer Center. So there'll be 9 examination rooms with 2 consult rooms. There'll be space for medical physicists, radiation therapists, and 1 CT simulator, 3 LINAC machines that provide the radiation care, public waiting, staff facilities, and administration space. There's also going to be an MRI suite. This is actually owned and operated by Interior Health. So this is again where we're collaborating together, but it allows us space to offer that because we do have fairly long MRI wait lists. And it'll be when we switch to the RH upgrade. So that's for the cancer oncology network clinic we have in the building. We'll be shifting the administration area, doing pharmacy upgrades and some con upgrades as well. And we're working with physicians on that right now to make sure the plan works for them and for the patients. So this is really just a rendering to give a sense of the space. So you can see the Phoenix Center where the building would be and St. Anne's would be in behind that, but we want to get a picture, just kind of show you what it's going to look like. This is not the final draft appearance of what it will be, but this is just an idea of what we'll be working with Ellis Dawn to complete that. And this is a radiation treatment bunker. So there will be 3 of these within the site. And did want to quickly speak about, obviously this is a conversation piece we have fairly often, but wanted to touch on the PET CT scanner and the demand and feasibility just to give updates and the information that we're sharing with other parties. But the current demand for residents of the Thompson-Caribou-Shuswap Health Service delivery requires less than 1 day per week of PET CT scanner. And a PET CT scan requires significant space. So it's about 515 square meters. That's comparable to 4 radiation treatment vaults. Operationally and financially, it did not fit sustainably into our plans. Recruitment attention challenges were for highly trained staff with relatively low volume. Demand is forecasted to grow, but sustainable service, example, volume sufficient to operate 3 or 4 days per week, is about 10+ years away. Short-term strategy would be to increase throughput in Kelowna by maximizing use of current infrastructure and specialized human resources to improve access to the Thompson-Caribou-Shuswap residents. As far as an update, so the RFP for design build awarded to Ellis Dawn happened this summer with the groundbreaking, construction beginning right now in fall. They have taken over the site. They have their trailers in there and going to start the groundworks very soon. Project budget was $386 million. Costing update in March 2025 resulted in 27 million increase required, and the Ministry of Health has approved and will fund 100% of that increase. So targeted completion dates for the new facility, that's the Kamloops Cancer Center Radiation Care, is December 2028, and the RH upgrades to the Con Clinic are summer 2029. So really just wanted to do a brief overview and then answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that. We will start with Director Sarai.
Thank you, Chair. Just back up a couple of slides where you said 1 day a week is the average, and that Kelowna is also going to get some infrastructure upgrade. Does that mean they'll get another CT scanner? And if they're not, then I don't know what the upgrade's going to help us with. What I'm hearing lately from residents here is they're going to Kelowna and it's a backlog there, and they're getting shipped, if I remember correctly, to the island or into the Fraser Valley. So how is that going to help us here? To me, it just seems like it's going to be another backlog.
Thanks for the question. And I think the question, if I'm understanding rightly, so that I answer the right question, is like, how are you going to handle the volume, as it were? What strategy would increase capacity? And it's not adding another PET scanner in Kelowna in the near future. The way we can add capacity is by using the PET scanner we do have more. Currently, the tools to do PET scanning, the tracer is made in a cyclotron in the Lower Mainland, and we have that cyclotron has to be down periodically for maintenance. As the cyclotron capacity in the Lower Mainland increases, we'll be able to run our PET scanner more. That being said, it's not infinite, and someday we will run into another barrier, but for the foreseeable future, when that growth happens, it'll help us absorb the extra capacity that we need.
Supplemental. So what I'm hearing is there's still going to be Kamloops patients or TNRD patients maybe not even going to Kelowna as our option. They may be traveling to the Lower Mainland or to the island for this.
So there are three locations where PET scanning is done in the province right now: Victoria, Vancouver, and Kelowna. And we'll use those. We're a provincial entity. We work together, and sometimes, if a machine goes down in one location, we rely on the other locations to help out and that type of thing. But mostly, I would expect the patients from this region to go to Kelowna, mostly.
Thank you. I'm next on the speakers list. Just a couple of questions. One regarding the PET CT, what the current wait time is in Kelowna.
I don't have today's data at the tip of my head. I'm not looking at it at the moment, but it's long at the moment, longer than we'd like. And that relates to the availability of tracer. And so, as that grows, we'll be in a better place. But it is a challenge across the province. It's not unique to Kelowna.
Thank you. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's 8 to 12 weeks at this point. And certainly the horizon and trajectory, talking about 10 years. But I mean, when we look where we're at, 13 to 15 years before another large capital build at Royal Inland Hospital, that's the horizon we're looking at. And certainly that's a big component of why we have been advocating for this PET CT. And I guess now more of a technical question. We've been bringing it up for a year and a half or two, and I brought it up with the new CEO of PHSA, but how the EMRs or electronic medical records will be talking to each other. As it stands right now, Interior Health has one and PHSA has another one, and there is no solution for that. And we've been hearing for a couple of years we're going to work towards something, but that runway is getting much shorter. And from what I've heard, there is no solution at this point. And so I'm wondering where things are at with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know provincially where, as far as having one single EMR. I do know that as we build the plan, and will be that the cancer patients would be on Cerner. So if they're within the Con Clinic or where they're within the cancer center, that they would be the same EMR. IH itself would be different, but we try to get that closer together. And I don't know, Sri, if you have anything to add to that, but.
I don't have any more to add to that, but we do want all of our cancer patients being on Cerner it's the same medical health record, but it would be different than an Interior Health patient. But, and then Dr. Halpern can answer this question better or address it better, but our physicians and providers and healthcare staff do have access to both systems, patient continuity and care.
Yeah, that's correct. The physicians are privileged in both organizations, so we are able to use Meditech, for example. I just wanted to acknowledge the wisdom of that question. It's really important that the system supports seamless care, and so keeping our eye on making sure that they work well together is going to be important, not just now, but going forward.
Thank you for those answers. I have Director Grenier, Bass, and Thorpe. Director Grenier.
Thank you, Chair. This slide indicates that the PET CT area would require 515 square meters. What's the floor plate of one of the wings here?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but if we do Sri, do you have an idea of the actual footprint per wing?
I don't actually. I just know what the amount of square meters that we need for the PET CT. And I just want to advise that it's not just the actual equipment, it's all the auxiliary support spaces that are required that you need for the PET CT as well.
Would it make any sense, given that there's a delay in the PET CT and given that the building is not yet built, would it make any sense to build an additional future floor, a floor that is not finished, a floor that has 515 square meters that would be available sometime in the future if a PET scanner could be put in at a later date? Seems we're going to quite a bit of difficulty to build this building. It's not even in the ground yet. Wouldn't it make sense to build an extra floor, particularly if the floor plate is bigger than 515 square meters?
What I can speak to, I will speak to, and what I can't, I can't. I can't speak to whether, strategically it makes sense to build something and not use it. That's not something in my domain, as it were. But what I can speak to is what we can all see ahead of us, an increasing need for PET CT and radiotherapy and systemic therapy as time goes on in this region. And so, while today the amount of demand for PET CT might make it not the time to bring a PET CT here, we expect that there will be a day, I don't know if it aligns with the next project or not, but there will be a day that bringing a PET CT here will make sense. But I can't comment on, does that make any sense from a building perspective?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the answer. So what I'm gathering from your last comments was that making a provision now for something that we know is going to be needed in the future might be a prudent thing to explore, might be a good thing to ask the question. And I just wonder if we could ask the contractor, Ellis Dawn, or the consulting engineer, Stantec, what it might cost to build in an extra floor in the current design that we could then bring in 515 square meters of PET scanner sometime in the future. Just asking the question, it seems to me that it would be a reasonable question to ask, given that this thing isn't out of the ground yet. I'm not even sure, Chair, if the building permit has been issued yet, but the building certainly isn't built, and stacking on top of that an extra space might make some sense. What would you think about that question?
From my perspective, I can't answer the question. I'm not an architect. I don't know what goes into building that. I run a hospital. I think we've been given our budget from the government of what we can work within, and we're trying to work within that. I can't speak what the cost would be or what it cost to then relook at blueprinting and all the plans that have already been completed. And like I said, we are ready to start digging soon and probably cement pouring by December. So we're a bit past that, but I'm not an architect. I cannot speak to that. It's not within my purview to give answers on what that would take. So I apologize.
Thank you. Director Bass.
Thank you. I just want to ask a couple of questions about the issue with the tracers. And just for some context, I had to wait 10 weeks to get in there. So I have a natural born bias for delay when it comes to cancer. So what is the issue what needs to happen to get that production up? So you can offer the PET scanner faster and more often, and cut down on the wait. I mean, it's nice to say we need it to speed up, but what's stopping it? I may have a supplementary, but I'm trying hard not to.
Cherie, do you want to speak about the cyclotron?
Yes, I was gonna mention, first of all, I just want to acknowledge it is, we don't want to see our patients have to wait. So I'm sorry you had to wait a long time for your PET CT. But in terms of what are we doing in BC Cancer in the province to increase the radio tracers, the cyclotron is what produces the radio tracers. And right now we're building 2 new cyclotrons in the province. One is going to be it's called IAMI, and it's located at UBC. And the other one is going to be located in Cloverdale. IAMI, I think, is going to be opening in about a year, and I could be wrong on that. So I don't want to make sure I don't confirm that date. And then in Cloverdale, it'll be opening with the new hospital and cancer center. So we will have more cyclotron capacity for the province coming up very shortly. I'm not sure, Ross, if you want to add any more to that.
Oh, then I do have a bit of a supplementary. The existing one, you can't get any more capacity out of? Is that what the problem is? And that's why you have to add to the number of them that you have?
That I can't comment on right now. I don't have eyes on that cyclotron, and I'm not sure if Ross does either, but we can be sure to get some more information on that. But we only currently have 1 cyclotron feeding all of our PET CTs right now.
Okay, thank you. And just a comment, I want to just reiterate what Director Grenier said, that it would be nice to deal with it now, because dealing with it later means it's going to cost a heck of a lot more money. And that just keeps hitting the taxpayers.
Agreed. Yeah.
Thank you, and thanks for that. And I think this is where it's a little bit of an awkward situation when we have interior health ministries, boards, and well, 2 different health authorities, frankly. But if there's some form of initiative that Councillor Bass or Director Bass or Director Grenier want to put forward to write ministers, if that's something that they would entertain, then that's something we could do after this presentation. But again, it's sort of a different position because who we have in front of us here today aren't making those decisions. I'll go to Director Thorpe and Director Roden to close.
Thank you, Chair. So a couple of questions based on this. Right now, you're saying that we would only require 1 day a week for a PET CT scanner. Yet we have 8 to 10 week wait in Kelowna. And I'm assuming it all isn't just the cyclotron issue, that some of it is actual capacity. Is there a possibility of, as Dr. Grenier says, adding that extra floor? And I'm not finished. Director Grenier, not Dr. Grenier, sorry. I was looking at the doctor over here. So, and it says here that in about 10 years, we're going to have 3 to 4 days use. So wouldn't it make sense, build the extra floor for Dr. Grenier, look at the fact that we're not going to have this building operational for 4 to 5 years, by which time there will be increased need. And the fact that you've got these huge wait lists at Kelowna, can't we send Kelowna patients here? I mean, why are we not putting a PET scan in here now? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
First of all, it frustrates all of us deeply when we can't do things in a timely manner. Our own communities, ourselves, our families are also facing these same challenges, and it's frustrating for all. That being said, in your preamble, the waits for PET CT at this moment relate to the tracer. It's not the other bits that are holding us back. That's where the bottleneck is at the moment. So the waits could be improved if we got the amount of tracer and could run the scanner longer. However, as you will find in healthcare, generally healthcare is complex. What happens is when one bottleneck opens, sometimes the next one is. And the one that I see down the road that worries me is, will we have the radiologists to read the scans? And having another scanner in another location, unfortunately, in the immediate short term, wouldn't solve that next potential bottleneck. Having said that, the bottleneck in the moment is the tracer.
So
Madam
if you had all the tracer you needed, how long's your wait list?
If we had all the tracer we needed and we had the staff to run the machine as long as we need to read all the scans, our weights would all meet standards.
And what are the standards, please?
Well, it depends on, there are different indications. So for the 1A, we aim to do all those within 2 weeks.
Okay, remember, cancer doesn't wait.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you. Director Roden?
Thank you. I think if I lived in Prince George or Terrace or Smithers or Kitimat or anywhere north of anywhere that has a PET CT scanner or is likely to get one in the next decade, I would be listening to Kamloops and thinking, wow, you guys are a lot better off than we are. I'm just saying, it's a perspective. It's a big province. These things are really expensive. And we all know people who live much, much further away from a PET CT scanner than we do right here and right now. So I'm just saying that I think we need to put some perspective, and especially when I'm wondering when the 4 new PET CT scanners come online in Surrey, Burnaby, and Nanaimo, which will probably be within a short time of these new cyclotrons coming on board, will that not cut down on wait lists everywhere for PET CT scans? So even though Kamloops is not getting a new one, 4 new ones are going in elsewhere, and with the other improvements, that will make things better for everyone? Am I completely misreading the situation?
You are exactly correct, because we're increasing our capacity to provide tracers, and we're also increasing capacity for PET CT across the province.
Thank you. Thank you for, sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I just wanted to thank you. To be here with you, to take your questions is an exciting thing for us because it means we're getting closer to bringing cancer services to here. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, and just to close, I think thank you for coming down, and this was very valuable. You know, and I think this board has spoken about, and we will continue to advocate not just for cancer services, but cardio services, things that we feel our residents need. We've never asked for anything extraordinary. We are asking for equity. And that's what we're looking for, and that's through ministry, and pushing to make sure that the residents of the TRHD are having equitable healthcare to everywhere else in the province, and that's where this conversation around the PET CT comes in, and we will continue to advocate for that, and I think that's our job as a local elected official to do that for our residents. But thank you very much for coming in today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. All right, we'll see you later.
Excellent. And so we have correspondence, and there is nothing required for action out of either of those. New business? Oh, Director Greiner.
Well, just following up with your earlier comments about a letter regarding the questions about floor space and cost. I wonder if that's something that you would advocate, or should we deal with it as an individual director?
I think if a director would like to put a motion forward to write the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Infrastructure for what we feel potentially another floor to be added on, that's something initiative that you'd like to do may be beneficial, and we will get a response back from ministries.
I would put that motion forward.
Okay, towards that, second by Director Thorpe. Staff, does that give you enough direction for writing the letter? Okay, seeing any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Contrary minded? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, Director Lepso is opposed. Okay, thank you. We'll have that on the record, please. Thank you. And
I
sorry.
approve. I approve.
Okay, thank you.
I approve.
Thank you, Director Demare and Director Birch-Jones.
Sorry, usually, don't you just have to indicate if you're in opposition? But yes, I support. Thank you.
Correct, thank you. I was just following Director Demare's lead on that one. And seeing nothing further, I would like to move the recommendation that we move into close under section 92B. Second by Director Blackwell. All in favor? Contrary minded? Seeing none, that's carried. Thank you.